everybody, and welcome to part 8 of What If Izuku Midoriya Bonnet with Venom. I know it's been a while since the last video, but oh well, still hope you enjoy this one nonetheless. Yeah, if you do, as always, don't forget to hit a like, subscribe, and comment something below. What do you think is going to happen next? How do you think things will turn with Kirishima having one for all and Izuku Midoriya having Venom? Well, all that said, I leave you with the video. The 1-week internships came to an end, with the students returning to school. Izuku had learned a lot during his internship. Mirko had truly been a great teacher for him. Yet, as he walked towards the train station on his way back to school, all he could think about was his classmate, Iida, and how he had left things with him. As he entered the train, Izuku grabbed his phone, opening up a line and looking at the last conversation he had with his friend. "I think it best if we don't speak for a while." He reread the last text message with the memories flooding back. A couple days ago, after the hero killer had been defeated, the heroes who had sustained damage headed to a nearby hospital to get medical attention. After Midoriya got checked out and discharged from the hospital, he headed to Iida's room wanting to see how his friend was doing before leaving. "Hey Iida, how are you?" Midoriya asked as he entered the room. "Mostly fine," Iida said in a slightly annoyed tone. "The doctor said all my injuries were minor ones, so I'll be able to return to my internship shortly." "What's wrong?" Midoriya asked, picking up on the annoyed tone and grim atmosphere around Iida. "Nothing," Iida responded. "You seem to have healed already." "Yeah, the doctors gave me the all clear. They said I'm perfectly healthy," Midoriya informed. "I'm glad. Then go enjoy the rest of your internship," Iida stated, practically shooing his classmate away. "What's wrong, Iida?" Midoriya uttered once more. Something was definitely wrong with the boy. "It's nothing," Iida remarked. "That's clearly not true," Midoriya responded. "Tell me, what's wrong?" "Oh, now you care about how I feel?" Iida shouted, his anger surfacing once more. "You seemed rather ignorant of my feelings when you barraged in on my fight with Stain." "That's different. You were in danger. I was worried. You could have died," Midoriya argued. "I would have handled myself. I've been training for this after all," Iida shot back. "You are being selfish, imposing what you wanted onto me." "You had it handled? Better heroes than you have tried to stop the hero killer. Your brother for one. They all failed. You're lucky that you had help," Midoriya argued further, stepping over a line he could not see. "Leave, Midoriya," Iida said, hurt by those words. I'm sorry, that was insensitive," Midoriya apologized. "Just leave, Midoriya," Iida shouted, turning his head to look out the window. Midoriya was going to rebuttal when Venom spoke up.
"I think he has a point. You should let him be,"
he said, the words Iida had uttered resonating with the symbiote.
"Just let him rest."
Instead of arguing further, Izuku let out a deep sigh. "I'm sorry," he said as he left the room, returning to his internship, disappointed at how things had ended with his friend.
"Izuku, we're here,"
Venom warned, snapping Izuku out of thought once they reached their station. "Oh, right, thanks," Midoriya responded, getting out of the train and walking to school while Venom started reflecting on the same conversation. They were connected, so the more Midoriya thought about it, the more Venom would see the memory as well. Every time the symbiote saw it, he'd find himself signing with Iida even more. Once Midoriya entered his classroom, he found everyone talking about their internships and what happened in Hosu. Midoriya was quickly asked about his experiences, leading him to answer as best he could. But he did have to keep quiet about the Stain fight, so he didn't mention that. After a couple more minutes, Iida entered the classroom, heading to a seat where he left his book back and got ready for class. "Oh, Iida! I should go talk to him," Midoriya thought. He started getting up, wanting to approach Iida.
"Did he not tell you to leave him alone?"
Venom asked, causing Izuku to stop in his tracks and sit back down. "Yeah, you're right," Midoriya answered in his head. "I should probably stay away from him for a bit."
"So now you're respecting the feelings of other beings, huh?"
Venom jabbed. "What are you on about?" Midoriya answered, slightly confused. Before Venom could respond or clarify in any way, Iida approached, catching the attention of Izuku. "Morning, Midoriya," he said in a friendly manner. Good morning," Midoriya responded, surprised that Iida would talk to him after what happened. "Lucky dame sa—" "Save it," Iida interrupted. He took a deep breath and started talking once more. "I came to apologize myself for the way I acted. I realized that it was not the best way to handle the situation, especially after you saved my life, but you must understand, after what happened to my brother, I was in the best emotional state. I don't have any siblings myself, but I think I get it. I'm sorry too. I should have listened to you more. Maybe tried and stopped you before everything got that far. I also shouldn't have said those things back at the hospital." Izuku apologized, trying to be considerate towards his friend. "It's fine," Iida stated. "Those words you chose were hurtful, and I do believe that you could have handled it with more tact, but your arguments were valid. I truly believe that had you not been there, I would have died. I was acting rashly and impulsive, and I probably won't get past this easily, but I hope you'll be there for me if I ever need you again. I know I need to strive to be better, to control myself in those situations, so I can be a better hero, but it's not always as easy as it sounds. If you ever need me again, I'll be there for you," Izuku responded. "If I may ask though, what brought this on?" Izuku questioned. It had only been a couple days, but Iida seemed to be changing his tune. It's as if he had done a lifetime of reflecting in less than a week. "It's only thanks to Manuel and my family that I realized this. Manuel and I had an extensive talk about my actions once I was discharged from the hospital, and then my brother when I was allowed to visit him," Iida said, heading back to his seat after he finished.
"Well, that was unexpected,"
Venom said, slightly annoyed about how things were progressing. "Yeah, I didn't think you'd come around so quickly either," Midoriya responded while Yaoyorozu told everyone to get back to their seats. This comment seemed to slightly annoy Venom. Some hours passed with the students getting used to their school duties again. After lunch, they head to Ground Gamma for Hero Fundamental class. "I am here," All Might greeted, informing the students on what the day's lesson would be. He explained the details of the rescue race and divided the students into groups to take on the challenge. The first group to practice was comprised of Ashido, Iida, Ojiro, Midoriya, and Zero. While the first students to take on the race got into positions, the other students started placing bets, trying to figure out who'd win the race. Many students put their money either on Zero, who had mobility on his side, or on Iida, who had the speed advantage. Once the race started, the class was surprised to see Midoriya soaring through the sky. He was swinging around like Zero, but had a much better sense of the environment, zooming through it. It pissed Bakugo to no avail, as not only had Izuku leveled up significantly, he could see his own moves slightly reflected and adapted into what Izuku was doing. Thanks to all the tips that Mirko had given him, and the experience he had gotten following her through unknown terrain, Midoriya was the first to reach All Might, with Zero and Iida arriving shortly after. The next group, those being Aoyama, Bakugo, Kirishima, Hagakure, and Uraraka, took their positions while their classmates again tried to guess who would win. Most assumed Bakugo, but some gave Uraraka a chance and she could float herself to higher ground and advance towards the teacher while dealing with fewer obstacles. The match started and sure enough, Bakugo took an early lead, taking to the skies thanks to his explosions. The class, however, was surprised to see what Kirishima did. He had hardened his body to abnormal amounts and started running. He acted like a wrecking ball, like a sort of bulldozer, breaking everything in his path. He only used it in select parts of the stadium to avoid reckless destruction, yet to be able to get to All Might quicker. But once he arrived at where the teacher was, Bakugo had already arrived. After the exercise came to an end, time passed with the students continuing their training. Kirishima kept practicing with One for All, trying to master it. He could already use 20% right off the bat, but was trying to get more control over it, especially when balancing it with his own quirk. If he didn't use it properly, he'd completely stop himself from moving. Izuku continued his training as well, but his relationship with his partner became slightly strained for some reason. As a result, he and Venom stopped talking as much. While the students kept training and studying, Midoriya started keeping tabs on the mysterious killer that Miko had been investigating. He wanted to know if she would be able to catch him. All the deaths were untraceable. The police couldn't find any culprit, but then they just suddenly stopped after the 5th victim, leaving the case pretty cold for a while. The authorities assumed that he had been taken down by some rival or vigilante, but never found any proof. The final exams inched ever closer until there was only a week left.
Mr. Aizawa? What's up with your arm?
Ashido asked, seeing him come into the classroom. It's a prosthetic, Aizawa answered. I've been slowly getting used to it at home as part of my recovery. Now I'm starting to use it in other parts of my daily life, like work. Once I'm used to it, I'll be able to do hero work with it. After explaining the story behind the arm, Aizawa reminded his students about the coming exam. He gave them a bit of extra motivation by telling them that they wouldn't be able to go to the training camp in the woods they were all looking forward to if they failed. This caused many students to freak out as academically they were doing pretty badly. Yaoyorozu did offer to tutor those who needed it, which a majority of the class accepted. Other students paired off, wanting to learn in a more enclosed environment. Later at lunch, Izuku was expressing his worries about the practical exam when Monoma showed up, trying to start beef with Class 1A. Luckily, Kendo showed up and calmed things down. She had heard what the students were talking about, so she shared some info she had gotten about the exam. Knowing what laid ahead of them, the students continued preparing for their exams. Time passed with the students studying constantly. The week that lay between them and the exams quickly passed, so they confronted the new challenge head-on. The students went through 3 days of written exams, with the practical coming right after. On the day of the practical exam, the students put on their costumes and head to the examination building, where the students of Class 1A were greeted by their teachers. Thanks to gathering some intel, the students had a pretty good idea of what to expect for the exam. Their expectations were completely shattered when it was revealed that they'd be fighting the teachers themselves. The revelation caught them by surprise, and some students tried to object, but the teachers explained that they'd be wearing handicaps in order to give the students a fighting chance. Oh, and one more thing. Aizawa started. Yo, we're getting a guest lecturer today, President Mike announced, interrupting his friend.
Really? A guest lecturer? At a time like this?
Mina asked. Yeah. Isn't the final semester exam a bit of a weird time to have one of those? Kaminari added. He'll be in charge of one of your exams in my place since I haven't been cleared for battle yet, Aizawa explained. You all know him. Many of you respect him. Put your hands together for the number 2 hero, Endeavor! President Mike announced, with Endeavor stepping out of the building. Many were amazed that the number 1 and number 2 heroes would be in the exam. Some were slightly worried, and one student in particular was incredibly annoyed. The matchups were then told to the students. Once everything had been explained, the exams could begin. The first to take the exam were Anima and Froppy, who were fighting ectoplasm in the forest area of UA. The students were overwhelmed in terms of numbers and experience, so they had to make sure to use their surroundings and strategy to their advantage. There weren't many animals in the vicinity, so Koda was effectively useless. It came to a direct confrontation where Tsuyu was incapacitated by the number of clones, forcing Koda to summon the strength of the bugs in the vicinity. Fortunately, his little buddies outnumbered his opponent. While Ectoplasm's multiple bodies dealt with them, Koda grabbed Tsuyu and headed to the exit, escaping and passing the exam. The second pair to take the exam were Chargeable and Pinky, who were fighting Nezu on Ground Gamma. Nezu was testing their intelligence and ability to strategize. Unfortunately, he ended up using the environment to trap the students inside the maze-like area, until time ran out, which caused both students to fail. It was now Katsuki and Venom's turn to take on the exam. They were fighting President Mike in the middle of a city landscape. Midoriya had tried to talk to Bakugo before the exam started, trying to strategize or something, but the bully seemed uninterested. Now, both boys were in the middle of a city with the exams about to begin. You kept mumbling about a plan before, Deku, so you and your slime bet better listen up, Bakugo shouted. I'm just gonna beat the crap out of the teacher alone and pass on my own, got it? I don't doubt your ability, Kachan, but do you really think it'll be that easy to beat a pro? Izuku questioned. I'll take 10 on you, damn nerd, Bakugo remarked. The match then started, so Bakugo left in search of his opponent, Present Mike, who was chilling at the entrance. We should probably go after him, Midoriya noted, jumping into the air and trying to extend a tendril to swing around. That was the only way he could think of to keep up with Bakugo. But when he tried to shoot out the tendril, nothing happened. Instead, he just plummeted to the ground.
No,
Venom asserted.
we aren't doing that.
What? Why not? Midoriya asked in his head.
Someone needs to put you in your place, and it seems Iida has fully given up on that.
Venom replied. What do you mean? Midoriya questioned, confused.
You've been totally insensitive towards the feelings of others lately.
Venom explained.
Iida didn't want your help, and you forced it on him. I didn't want to tell Bakugo, but you forced me to, so I'm not helping.
Those watching from the monitoring room wondered why Midoriya was talking to himself instead of doing anything, but then he started moving, running towards Bakugo. As he ran, a sonic attack came his way from the distance, hurting Midoriya and Venom severely.
Hurts!
Venom screamed, overwhelmed with pain. Moments later, Bakugo landed next to them. Midoriya walked to his side, extending a helping hand. What are you looking at, nerd? Bakugo shouted, swatting Izuku's hand away and getting up. If you really want to make yourself useful, suit up and keep that damn DJ busy till I can beat him up. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, Midoriya responded. What? Why not? Bakugo shouted back, annoyed. If Deku couldn't do the simple task, then what was he good for? Don't just leave me hanging! President Mike shouted, the sonic attack reaching both students as they stood in the middle of the city landscape. The scream was painful for Bakugo, pushing him back slightly. He was forced to put his hands to his ears to make it more bearable, but when he looked at Midoriya, he noticed the effects were different. Izuku and Venom were spasming in place, trying their hardest to maintain their form. It hurts! They screamed, with Bakugo unable to tell who was speaking. The attack subsided shortly after. You're clearly useless here, so just stay back and hide from his attacks, Bakugo suggested, using his explosions to head back to the entrance. I'll take care of the other weakling. After what Bakugo said, Midoriya summoned his strength and ran to an alleyway where he started eating some chocolate so that his body would be able to heal again. There, he noticed that he was safe from the sonic blasts, as they didn't travel well through concrete, so he used the chance to talk to Venom. Any chance we can save this for later? Like, after the exam ends? I could really use your help, Midoriya asked.
No,
Venom stubbornly declared. Look, I'm sorry, okay? I just felt like Kachan deserved to know. He's one of my oldest friends. It felt wrong leaving him in the dark after he asked about it, Izuku explained.
He's a bully, not a friend. But that's not the point.
Venom opined. Then what is? Midoriya asked.
You promised you would not tell anyone. I trusted you on that.
If it hurt you that much, why did you take so long to bring this up? Why not do it during the internships or over the last few weeks? Midoriya questioned.
Why does that matter?
Venom replied.
But if you must know, I've been thinking about it for a long time. At first, seeing Mirko in action, I didn't want us to be one-upped, so I kept it all bottled up. Once the thing happened with Iida, I started thinking about it more. When we were paired with Bakugo, that was the tipping point.
Is that why you haven't been talking that much recently? Izuku inquired.
Yes.
Venom replied. I'm very sorry I hurt you, V. We're partners and I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but I need your help, Midoriya apologized.
Fine. I don't see how we're gonna beat those sonic blasts.
Venom conceded. What if we don't? Izuku wondered.
What do you mean?
Venom questioned. Well, Kachan is keeping President Mike busy, so if we go through the alleyway we can avoid the sonic blast and sneak by the gate with camouflage, Midoriya suggested.
Sounds like a plan.
Venom said, extending himself around Midoriya.
But we're continuing this conversation at home.
Fine by me, Midoriya answered, executing his plan. In the meantime, Bakugo continued on fighting, trying to hit President Mike, but whenever he got close, he'd be blown away by the sonic blasts. He tried using a couple different attacks and techniques, but nothing he tried seemed to get close. Will you ever shut up? Bakugo shouted, approaching President Mike at high speeds and unleashing the biggest explosion he could master. Never! President Mike shouted back, enough force coming out of his mouth that the explosion didn't end up reaching him. With the sonic wave coming his way, Bakugo put his hands to his ears and was sent back. When he pulled his hands back out, blood was on his palms. Where's your little friend? Is he not gonna show his face at this party? President Mike asked Bakugo, with Bakugo barely being able to hear the question over the ringing in his ears. He's not showing up, Bakugo said, an evil-looking grin on his face. It's just you and me. Oh, really? President Mike asked, turning around. Are you sure about that? He unleashed a sonic blast near the entrance. Izuku just manifested there, breaking apart, trying to maintain his form. Seeing his opportunity, Bakugo rushed at President Mike, actually hitting him with an explosion. This caused the teacher to focus his attention on Bakugo for a bit. Midoriya started crawling, trying to reach the gate. President Mike took note of this, so he focused his attention on Midoriya again, allowing Bakugo to attack once more. This pattern continued until Midoriya reached the gates, leaving the area and passing the exam for the pair. After the two rivals, it was Uravity and Can't Stop Twinkling's turn to take the exam. Their opponent was 13, who had the home field advantage, fighting the students in the USJ. The students tried sneaking to the exits, but were quickly cornered by 13, forced to hang onto a railing or be absorbed by the hero's quirk. In the middle of the exam, Aoyama confronted Ochako about her feelings, causing her to lose focus and let go of the railing. She was sucked in by her teacher's quirk. 13 wasn't expecting this development, so in surprise she deactivated her quirk, allowing Uraraka to pin her down in the ground and capture the hero, passing the exam, although barely. Then, it was Tenny and Tailman's turn. They had to face Power Loader in the middle of a clearing he had riddled with traps. The student's movements were restricted, especially Iida, since he could not use his speed in this environment correctly. Both students managed to pass, figuring out a strategy that allowed Ojiro to escape. However, Iida had to offer himself as a sacrificial lamb for Ojiro to do so. Todoroki entered the urban area that would serve as a battlefield for him, with anger bubbling in his heart. The two students had tried coming up with a plan before the match, but Todoroki would get into his own head every time they started talking about his father, annoyed at him.
Hold on, Todoroki. Maybe we should come up with a more concrete plan before we engage,
Yaoyorozu argued, running behind him to catch up. The cold anger oozed out of Todoroki. If he weren't trying to deliberately suppress his fire side, he'd likely let it loose by now. Just like Bakugo would on occasion unleash his explosions for emphasis. The plan is simple. We're going to beat the old man. Just the both of us, using your quirk and my ice.
But what about your fire?
Yaoyorozu questioned. I'm not gonna give him the satisfaction, Todoroki answered, an icy cold expression on his face. It was as if he were staring daggers into his future. The exam began, and both students started running, heading to the opposite part of town where the exit was located. Shoto! Endeavor shouted once the match started, using his fire to propel himself up into the air. From his vantage point, he managed to easily locate his target, landing in front of the two students blocking their path. "Fight me, Shoto!" Endeavor shouted upon landing. While gritting his teeth, Shoto placed his right leg in front of him and lifted his right arm, unleashing the biggest ice blast he could muster. It completely buried Endeavor. "Come on, let's go," Todoroki said, wanting to finish as soon as he could.
Are you sure he won't break out?
Yaoyorozu questioned. "With that amount of ice, it's going to take him a while," Todoroki responded. Just as he did, the ice started glowing and a stream of fire shot out of it, almost hitting Yaoyorozu. Luckily, she managed to create a shield in time, deflecting the attack. Yet there was still some kickback, so she fell to the ground. "Are you okay?" Todoroki asked, concerned that his father hurt his friend. "You should worry more about yourself, Shoto," Endeavor said, shooting another blast of fire at his son. Todoroki erected a small barrier of ice, but it melted quickly, so he had to create more. "You can't beat me with those flimsy moves, Shoto," Endeavor said, a smile on his face. He knew that if his son kept up the ice like he was, then he'd end up too slow and would be forced to use his fire. "Damn it, my ice isn't cutting it," Todoroki thought, caught between a rock and a hard place. His father was attacking from the front, and behind them was a wall, so they had no real way of escaping. "I thought I could just beat him with my mom's quirk, but..."
We aren't going to win this, Todoroki. We need to regroup.
Yaoyorozu said while getting up. "Any suggestions?" Todoroki asked.
Luckily, I've already been working on this.
Yamamo responded, unleashing a bunch of flashbang grenades into the air. The girl's power allows for her to create anything she wants out of her body. So what did she make? Endeavor wondered. "What is this?" he exclaimed, unleashing a flash-fire fist at them. He managed to burn a couple of the flashbangs, but the others still went off, blinding him for a moment.
Let's go.
Yaoyorozu shouted, grabbing onto Todoroki and running away while Endeavor was still stunned.
What was that back there?
Yaoyorozu asked after a while of running, catching her breath. "I'm sorry," Todoroki said, looking at his left hand while he continued explaining. "I wanted to fight my father while avoiding using his fire. Originally I didn't want to use it at all, but after the USJ, I realized that wouldn't be possible. Still, I'm usually very hesitant to use it."
Are you really thinking of your powers in that way?
Yaoyorozu asked. Hearing that question caused a confused expression to form on Todoroki's face.
We may be a product of our parents, but everything about us is our own, including our quirks.
"Your quirk is nothing but your own, Shoto," Todoroki remembered his mother saying.
Don't let the idea of your father put shackles on you. You are different from him in every way.
Yaoyorozu said, comforting her classmate. "I needed that," Todoroki thanked his classmate. "But we still need a plan."
I think I might have an idea. That is assuming you haven't come up with anything.
Yaoyorozu replied, unsure of herself. She had been acting on instinct in a way, without second-guessing her actions, but now that it was time to strategize, the doubt somehow returned. "My last plan nearly lost us the match," Todoroki declared, allowing his partner to explain her plan. "You two really thought you could get away from me?" Endeavor asked, landing next to the two students as they finished talking. His demeanor seemed more intimidating than before. Earlier, he just seemed somewhat excited to face his son and evaluate his progress, but now he appeared angry or annoyed. As soon as he landed, he was met with a wall of ice that threatened to push him back, but once again, Endeavor just melted the attack before it reached him. "I'm disappointed, Shoto. You refuse to use your flames again? Fine," Endeavor said, shooting a stream of flames at Todoroki. He countered with his own. Both flames collided, deflecting each other into a wall. "I'm not letting you win," Todoroki declared, the flames subsiding. "We're passing this exam." "With those flimsy flames, you'll surely fail," Endeavor declared. He looked behind Todoroki, finding that Yaoyorozu was no longer there. Instead, she was gaining distance, looking through her book to find the compound she was trying to make. Even your comrade has abandoned you. You have no idea what you're talking about, Todoroki said, charging up his fire and shooting it at his father again. He easily evaded the blast. Raging assault. Hell minefield, Endeavor announced, smashing his fist into the ground. He then let fire flow out of it more, breaking the ground apart around Todoroki, it flying up into the air with fire. Todoroki countered the move, generating ice, freezing the broken pieces of the ground in place. He walked back before they melted, evading the consequences of the attack. Todoroki kept on fighting his father, shooting flames at him while also blocking Endeavor's attacks with ice. His father was slowly heating up while Todoroki was keeping a cool temperature. Meanwhile, Yaoyorozu found the page she was looking for and started creating a couple canisters. After, she created a launcher for the canisters that were small enough to carry yet still pack a punch. She looked towards where she came from, trying to see where Todoroki and Endeavor were fighting currently. Although there weren't any attacks that reached far into the air, she could see the heat in the air, so she headed in that direction, coming across the two combatants.
Todoroki!
She shouted, wanting to get the attention of her partner. Once Todoroki took notice of her, Yaoyorozu shot out the canisters into the air. Todoroki used his ice, creating a spear that pierced into them, causing the canisters to release the liquid falling on top of Endeavor. Huh? What is this? Endeavor wondered, struggling to get the liquid off of him as more was falling.
That's polycyanide, a material that hardens when exposed to heat.
Yaoyorozu explained as Todoroki shot a blast of fire at his father. Endeavor saw the blast coming. He had no way of evading it, so he blocked with his own flame, causing the liquid around him to harden to the point he was rendered immobile. Both students passed the exam. The seventh pair to take on the final exam were Invisible Girl and Tentacle, who had to fight against Snipe in an open environment that had few obstacles. Their opponent and location were meant to block Shoji from moving and make sure that Hagakure would be unable to use her abilities to their fullest extent. Shoji ended up acting as a distraction while Hagakure snuck in close and restrained her opponent, so the students managed to pass the exam. The eighth team to take on the exam was comprised of Grape Juice and Cellophane, who were facing off against Midnight in the mountainside of UA. Towards the beginning of the exam, the students were caught off guard by their teacher, who almost took them down. Zero ended up sacrificing himself in order to give his partner a fighting chance. Against all odds, Mineta scrambled his resources, using his extensive knowledge of Midnight in order to trap her deep in the battlefield while escaping to the entrance. As a result, Mineta managed to pass the exam while Zero failed. The next team to partake in the exam were Earphone Jack and Sugarman, who were up against Cementos in the middle of a city. Sato wanted to rush towards the exit, using his quirk to smash through any obstacle, but knowing about the side effects of the quirk, Jiro proposed an alternative. She used her own ability to locate their opponents. They then rushed towards him, using their quirks to take down the teachers and pass the exam. There were only two students left to take the exam, those being Red Riot and Tsukuyomi. These two had the most difficult battle ahead of them, as they had to face off against the #1 hero himself in close quarters, no less. Both Kirishima and Tokoyami entered the exam's location, one they had rarely seen before. It was an enclosed building with multiple tunnels that connected the areas together. Both students had discussed their strategy beforehand. They left the starting area heading to where they knew the entrance to be. They reached an open room where All Might was waiting for them, just like they assumed. There were many tunnels that they could have come from, so there was no way All Might could find them easily. "Oh, there you are, heroes," All Might said to himself, somehow his usual heroic self sounding more and more villainous this time. He pulled back his left arm, winding up for a punch. Using his keen senses, he had easily located them. He unleashed the attack, sending it at an unsuspecting Tokoyami. "Watch out!" Kirishima shouted, jumping in front of Tokoyami and hardening as much as he could to block the blast. He overdid it to an extent, even combining one for all into his own power by accident. The unleashed punch broke the platform they were standing on, sending Tokoyami back into the tunnel and Kirishima against the wall above it. He tried to get back up, to get back in the fight, accidentally bringing the tunnel down as he freed himself. He came down to the ground, barely managing to land without hurting himself. "Just you and me then, hero," All Might stated, an intimidating smile on his face. He dashed at Kirishima with a punch ready. "Bring it," Kirishima responded, hardening again. This time, he planted himself firmly in the ground as to not be moved. All Might hit him, sending the boy back a few centimeters. Seeing that the boy had blocked the punch by placing his hands in a cross formation, All Might punched again, then again, hitting repeatedly trying to take down the boy. "Is that all you're gonna do, young man? Be a punching bag?" All Might asked, hitting the boy without relenting. The boy hardened all he could to protect himself, but shards of him were flying around. "Hold on, Kirishima!" Tokoyami shouted in support of his comrade, having taken the way around to rejoin the fight. At first, he intended to go through the gate as they had discussed, but after seeing how badly Kirishima was being beaten, he just had to act. Dark Shadow flew at his opponent, trying to move him away so Tokoyami could grab onto Kirishima. "Oh, so the other one returned?" All Might asked himself, turning around, easily catching Dark Shadow with one hand. He smashed the quirk into the ground. He was about to go after the boy controlling it when he heard rustling behind him. Kirishima was getting up. "I'm not just a shield. I'm also a spear," Kirishima said, back on his feet, focusing one for all on his quirk into one arm. "Enhance full gauntlet!" Kirishima shouted, punching All Might in the gut with all the power he could muster. All Might was sent back, blood flying out of his mouth. He hadn't told his successor where his injury was, only that it existed, and somehow he had hit right in the mark. If this were a video game, then Kirishima would have just dealt a critical blow. Still, it would take more than that to take the symbol of peace down. All Might got back on his feet and dashed at his opponent, ready to deliver another attack. But once he got close, he was met by another punch from Kirishima. "It seems I underestimated you, boy," All Might said, a killer stare coming from him. The boy was exhausted and heavily bruised, panting, but he wouldn't be taken down so easily. Seeing the way he was standing, All Might got worried for a second. He was letting loose on the boy because he thought he could take it, but seeing him like he was made him doubt himself. That moment of doubt proved fatal, as Kirishima took advantage of it, hitting All Might repeatedly with an attack that combined his hardness with one for all. He managed to land 5 consecutive hits before his arm gave out. All Might was about to counterattack when the sound that indicated the end of the match sounded. Hearing that, Kirishima let down his defenses, passing out from the exhaustion. Thanks to his efforts, the two boys had passed the exam. "You did well, boy. You did very well," All Might said, catching Kirishima before he could hit the ground. Kirishima was then taken to the infirmary, where a recovery girl healed him up quite quickly. The exams finished, the students were sent home for the day. And that's the end of the video. As always, hope you enjoyed. So, yeah, it's been a while since the last upload. I've been taking a bit of a break, hiatus, mostly for mental health, for my voice, because the Venom voice hurts my throat, and that really got me demotivated from making videos. But I'm back. Honestly, it feels so weird recording after so long. And yeah, I would let you know what my secret project is, but you'll find out in a while. I mean, I'm still working on it, so you'll find out when it's done, okay? Yeah, hope you liked this video as always. Hope it was quite entertaining. I actually thought about having Izuku and Bakugo lose the fight against Present Mike, since it was such a bad matchup for them. And yeah, sonic attacks are pretty OP if you use them right, and I'm pretty sure Present Mike would. All that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope to see you next time. Actually, one last thing. I'm not fully done with my break. There will be some videos in the next month, but my break officially ends on August 3rd. I did say I wanted to get a couple projects done before then, but never got around to it, so I'm gonna start doing it now. I want to finish the Venom series before moving on, because otherwise it would be too much work after. So yeah, see you next time, everyone. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye!